The boy stood outside the police station clutching a crumpled envelope in both hands. His fingers were cold, but he barely noticed. His eyes stayed fixed on the large black dog, sitting quietly beside the officer near the entrance. The dog's fur was glossy despite the gray creeping around his muzzle. His ears were alert, but his eyes carried a calm patience, as if he had seen the world in ways most creatures never would. The boy swallowed and stepped forward. "Sir, can you buy my dad's police dog?" The officer looked down, confused at first. He was a tall man in his 40s with deep lines around his eyes, the kind that came from years of squinting into danger. His name tag read Officer Daniel Hayes. "What did you say, son?" he asked gently. The boy held out the envelope with shaking hands. "I saved money. I want to buy him." The officer glanced at the dog sitting beside him. The dog's name was Rex, a retired K-9 who had served the department for nearly 9 years. Rex had once chased armed suspects through dark alleys, sniffed out explosives, and saved lives more times than anyone could count. Now he mostly sat quietly beside Daniel, watching the world with tired but loyal eyes. Daniel knelt in front of the boy. "Why do you want to buy Rex?" The boy hesitated. His small chest rose and fell quickly. He looked about 10 years old, wearing a worn hoodie and sneakers that had clearly seen better days. "Because he belongs with my dad." Daniel frowned slightly. "Your dad?" The boy nodded and pointed to Rex. They worked together. The officer felt a small chill run through him. "What's your name, son?" "Ethan." Daniel studied the boy's face more carefully now. There was something familiar in his eyes, something that tugged at an old memory buried deep inside him. Ethan slowly opened the envelope and poured its contents into his palm. Coins, mostly quarters and dimes, a few crumpled dollar bills. "I counted it 3 times, Ethan said nervously. "It's $47.62. The people walking through the station entrance began slowing down. A few officers nearby turned their heads toward the conversation. Daniel gently pushed the boy's hand closed again. "You don't need to buy Rex," he said softly. Ethan shook his head quickly. "But I do." His voice cracked. "My dad said Rex was the best partner he ever had." Daniel felt his throat tighten. "Your dad's name?" he asked quietly. Ethan looked down at the ground for a moment. "Officer Mark Turner." The air seemed to freeze. Daniel's heart dropped into his stomach. Mark Turner. The name carried weight in the station. Everyone knew it. Everyone remembered. Mark had been one of the bravest K-9 officers the department had ever seen. Fearless, loyal, the kind of man who ran toward danger without hesitation. 3 months ago, Mark had responded to a robbery call at a convenience store. The suspect had been armed and desperate. The situation escalated in seconds. Mark had pushed a hostage to safety and taken the bullet meant for her. Daniel had been there that night. He remembered the flashing lights, the shouting, the ambulance doors slamming shut. He remembered Rex refusing to leave Mark's side. Daniel looked at the boy again. "You're Mark's son?" he asked gently. Ethan nodded. "My mom says Rex helped my dad save people." Daniel glanced at the dog. Rex had slowly walked over and now sat quietly beside Ethan, pressing his head softly against the boy's leg as if he already knew. Ethan stroked the dog's fur. "He remembers me," the boy whispered. Daniel felt his chest tighten. "Rex used to come to our house," Ethan continued. "Dad let me feed him sometimes. He'd sleep next to the couch while we watched movies." The boy looked up, his eyes shining with tears he was trying hard not to let fall. "But after Dad," his voice faded. Daniel placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "What did your mom say about Rex?" "She said the police keep retired dogs," Ethan replied. "But Rex shouldn't be alone. Dad wouldn't want that." A small crowd of officers had gathered nearby now, listening quietly. Ethan took a shaky breath. "So I saved my money. I thought if I bought Rex, he could come home again." The silence that followed felt heavy. Daniel looked around at the other officers. Some had their arms crossed. Some looked down at the floor. One officer quietly wiped his eyes. Rex leaned gently against Ethan, his tail slowly tapping the concrete. Daniel stood up slowly. "Ethan," he said. The boy looked up. "I can't sell Rex." Ethan's face fell instantly. His small shoulders slumped. "Oh," he whispered. Daniel knelt again, meeting the boy's eyes. "But not because he's too expensive." Ethan looked confused. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded document. "You see?" he said softly. Your dad made a request before that night. Ethan blinked. Daniel opened the paper. It says that when Rex retired, he should go live with the only person Mark trusted to love him as much as he did. Daniel handed the paper to Ethan. The boy looked at it carefully. His eyes widened. Me? Daniel smiled. Yes, kid, you. Ethan's hands began shaking again, but this time for a different reason. Rex was always meant to come home. The boy suddenly wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. Rex wagged his tail harder now, licking Ethan's cheek. I get to keep him? Ethan asked through tears. Not keep, Daniel said gently. Take care of. Just like your dad did. Ethan nodded quickly, wiping his face. I will, I promise. Daniel stood and looked down at them both. But then he did one more thing. He pulled out his wallet and placed $50 into Ethan's hand. The boy looked confused. What's this for? Daniel smiled. That's the payment. For Rex? Daniel shook his head. No. He gestured toward the dog. That's Rex's first allowance for protecting his new partner. Some of the officers nearby laughed softly. Ethan hugged the dog again. As the boy and Rex walked away from the station together, something incredible happened. For the first time since the night Mark Turner died, Rex's tail wagged like it used to, and every officer standing there knew something powerful in that moment. A police dog had found his way back to the family he had sworn to protect. And a little boy had just inherited his father's bravest partner.